Hey everyone. You're probably wondering what this video is about based on the title, and no, it's not clickbait. This is something that actually happened to me, and I want to illustrate how I found God in the darkest of places, or in particular how God found me and protected me from evil. You see, in 2013 I lost my partner to suicide. In 2019 I was charged with her murder. As I sat in the watch house in early 2019, I'd been in there for about 9 or 10 days by that stage, and I got hauled out to an interview room on the evening of about the 9th or 10th day, as I said, and I got slapped with another 9 charges. So in total I had a murder charge, an attempted fraud charge, a tampering with evidence charge, and 9 unlawful stalking charges. The detectives bundled me back into the cell. The following day I was due to have a Supreme Court bail application to see if I could get bail. Now, most people don't get bail on a murder charge. In fact, very few people do. So I sat in the cell. It was a bulk holding cell, so there were 2 other guys in the cell. It was after dinner. It was quiet. We were waiting for the lights to go out to go to sleep. 100%, that was my lowest, darkest moment. I couldn't work out how I got charged with murder. So my mind was thinking, well, if that's the case, then there's a possibility I could get found guilty of murder, even though I'm innocent. I was thinking I'm fucked. So I was sitting there and I thought to myself, okay, I've never been a religious person. I've never really prayed. I believe that there's a God, but I've never really been a person. I don't go to church. So I'm sitting there in the watch house and I started mumbling a prayer in my own kind of way. I don't recall exactly what I said, but I remember asking God for help to get me out of this situation. And I remember at the very end of it, I said, God, if you're real, please give me a sign. And that was it. Not 5 minutes later, a little flap in the steel door of the cell opened, and it never opens other than mealtime. So when this flap opened, we all kind of looked at it and went, what's going on here? And there was this little old man's face sort of pushed up against it saying, "G'day fellas, my name's Alan, I'm from the local gospel church." I looked at him and went, well played, God, smart ass. And that moment literally changed my life. Alan sat there for about 20 minutes, half an hour chatting to us, and he said how his life turned around with the help of God. So I told Alan my situation and he said, would you mind if I say a prayer for you? So Alan said a really meaningful prayer, and after that he went on his way. I'm presuming he went on to other cells and chatting to other inmates. The following day I had my Supreme Court bail hearing and it was successful. I got bail. About 3 weeks later I ran into Alan again and I said, I know you. You're the man that comes into the watch house at Southport. He goes, yeah. He says, how do you know? I said, I was in there, and I told him the story. He goes, shit. He said, I've never met anyone on the outside that I've prayed for on the inside. So we exchanged numbers and I was so grateful for Alan's support that night. And since then, Alan's constantly ringing me saying, how's things? How's it all going? What's going on? Over the last 7 years dealing with all these charges. And he said to me about a month after that, he said, your name's up on the board in our church and we say a prayer for you every Sunday. And I thought, you know what? If someone else can do that for me, then why can't I do it for myself? And I listened to a book called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And he talked about how he prays and how he has conversations with God. And I read a little booklet that explained how to pray. It explained that you just have a conversation with God. You give thanks, which I do. I always start my prayer with, thank you, God, for today. Thank you for my body. Thank you for my dogs. Thank you for the roof over my head. Thank you for my abundance. Thank you for everything that I have in my life, basically. Then I'll start to talk to him about everything else. And I'll say, look, I'm dealing with this problem or that problem. And in particular, I needed help with overcoming a murder charge and 11 other charges. How was I going to do that? I had no idea. Where was I going to get the money from? I was earning $50,000 a year at that point. I wasn't sure how I was going to get the money. My legal bills over the last 7 years have been over $300,000. I hadn't saved $10,000 in my entire life. So how was I going to find $300,000? So these were all things that I said in my prayers or my conversations with God. It's funny because people say, oh, I found God. Yeah, I may have found God, but I think more to the point, God found me, or God knew of me and has been giving me subtle hints over the last decade. But when I kept ignoring those hints, he literally grabbed me, slapped me across the face, kicked me in the nuts and said, listen here, you little prick, we need to have a conversation. The reason I want to share this video is because people have this blockage with having a relationship with God or being religious because of many reasons, but I think some people out there preaching God and religion are doing it in a way that general people feel not intimidated by, but feel it's a bit wooky-pooky, kind of a bit weird. But to me, you can be religious and have a relationship with God without yelling it from the rooftops or knocking on people's doors sharing the good word. I myself have a relationship, and apart from this video, you won't hear me preaching about God, you won't hear me talking about it unless you actually engage me in a conversation about it, because my relationship with God is private to me, just like any other relationship. Unless you're a narcissist or you want everybody to know on OnlyFans or on social media, you don't go telling everybody about your relationships with your husband or your wife or your boyfriend, girlfriend. And your relationship with God is the same. So I just want to share this video to share firstly that I did find God, or God found me, and he saved me from all of these evil entities that were trying to bring me down. Because I was facing, as I said, 12 charges, including one of murder. But knowing that God was in my corner and having that relationship was like having a big brother when you're getting bullied at school, who's there to protect me from these people who are trying to hurt me, or these evil entities that are trying to do wrong by me. And that's why I'm here today, to share this message and to share what I've been through. That same night in the watch house, I came up with the idea for my new book, which has just come out this year. It's called What Other People Think of You Is None of Your Business. It's a paperback ebook and also an audiobook. It's available on my website, jdmorea.com/new book. But it outlines my journey through all of these challenges, how I've overcome them, how I've had the relationship with God, and how that has assisted me in overcoming them all, and how I've discovered what I believe is the blueprint to overcome any challenge I face or you may face in life. So if you want, go and check it out. What Other People Think of You Is None of Your Business. It's also on Spotify, Google Books, Apple Books. It's on Amazon as a paperback and an ebook. Or, as I said, go to my website, jdmorea.com/new book, and then you can find all the links to go and get it in your preferred format. If you've enjoyed the video, please like it, share a comment, give me your opinion. If you agree, disagree, happy to have a conversation. That's what it's all about. Share with me your story of how you found God or how you've been reluctant to find God. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @j.dmorea, or you can subscribe here on YouTube or on Instagram, wherever you're watching this video. So please, as I said, if you've enjoyed the video, please like and comment. I hope I have added some value, and I hope I've given you an insight into how you could potentially have the same experience that I have with God. Thank you, and God bless.